Hello and welcome to HBM's Crypto-Corner for Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024. Yes, it is April now. We have a few things to talk about, so let's get started. New exhibit at Ben's High Desert Museum highlights indigenous perspectives on Sasquatch. At the High Desert Museum in Bend, the new Sensing Sasquatch exhibit isn't concerned with whether or not Sasquatch exists. In many indigenous traditions, Sasquatch is a bona fide, living, breathing, sentient being, and that is where this exhibit, which features the work of 5 Native American artists, begins. I didn't want it to be like, have a cutout Bigfoot on the side of the road where people can pull over and get their pictures taken with it. I didn't want it to be like a tourist trap kind of schlocky thing, said Frank Buffalo Hyde, who has Nez Perce and Onondaga heritage and is one of the artists participating in the exhibit. I wanted it to be a serious, for lack of a better word, a serious tone, where we're not trying to decide whether Sasquatch exists. We're doing an exhibit about how Sasquatch exists and lives in a very real sense and is medicine for indigenous communities. Philip Cash of Cayuse and Nez Perce heritage is another participating artist. He says that each individual's experience with Sasquatch is deeply private and needs to be held with respect and reverence. When we talk about Sasquatch, it really comes from having an experience, said Cash. So the experience is the basis for our understanding. And many community people up to the present have had experiences with Sasquatch. For the exhibit, Cash made 2 large rattles, which are respectively 7 and 12 feet long. So, this is an exhibit. I think it's Bend, Oregon. It's got to be Bend, Oregon. I don't know if there's many other Bends that there are. Is there high desert in Oregon? Maybe there is. I don't know. Why else would they call it Ben's High Desert Museum? Pretty fascinating. And whether anyone believes in Sasquatch or not, I guess they can enjoy this exhibit. Reddish sea creature with over 70 feet found by a submarine. It's a new species. Scientists on board a submarine piloted themselves through the depths of the South China Sea. As they searched the murky blue waters, they spotted a reddish sea creature covered in dozens of appendages. It turned out to be a new species. Researchers explored the South China Sea during a series of 5 dives on a manned submersible vehicle between 2018 and 2023, according to a study published March 20th in the peer-reviewed journal Zookeys. During one of these deep-sea dives, the researchers found an unfamiliar-looking reddish sea cucumber, the study said. They carefully collected the unusual animal and preserved it. Back on the surface, the researchers looked more closely at the sea cucumber and realized they discovered a new species, Oneirophanta brunnian annulata, or the brown-ringed sea cucumber. The brown-ringed sea cucumber can reach about 8 inches in length and about 2 inches in width, the study said. It has an elongated, tube-shaped body with 20 tentacles and over 70 tube feet. Sea cucumbers use these feet-like projections to suction on the surfaces and move around, according to the University of Hawaii. Check that out. So there are new discoveries being made all the time, apparently. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Hope there are more discoveries to come. Now, Steve Coles and Chris Bennett reported on this last week on Friday. Man calls Washington Sheriff's Office to inquire about legality of hunting Bigfoot. By Brandon Hanson for Chronicle. Last week, the Stevens County Sheriff's Office in eastern Washington received an interesting phone call from a man looking to hunt for Sasquatch. According to a Facebook post by the Sheriff's Office, the caller told office staff that he would be traveling to the area in mid-April and wanted to hunt in the Big Meadow Lake area in northeast Washington. Sheriff's Office staff initially tried to refer the man to Washington State Department of Fish and Wildlife, but he told them they had referred him to the Sheriff's Office. The man's concern was how to stay legal while hunting the mythical beast in the Big Meadow Lake area because Washington state regulations regarding Sasquatch hunts were unclear. Well, except in one county, that being Skamania County, which is where the ordinance was passed in 1969 and amended in 1984. And that has been now 55 years since that ordinance was passed. The caller asked the sheriff's office whether shooting a Sasquatch was illegal in Stevens County, whether a regular hunting license was enough to keep his Sasquatch hunt above board legally. He also said he would not hunt or shoot a female Sasquatch. The Stevens County Sheriff's Office patrol chief called the man to explain that Meadow Lake is in nearby Penn Oriel County Sheriff's jurisdiction and that there is no Sasquatch in Stevens County. We know this because one of our deputies would have accidentally hit one by the patrol car by now, the sheriff's office social media post said. What was it Grover Krantz once said? The giraffe. Now, there's no likely animal. Most zoologists would deny the existence of it until it came up and stepped on them. That kind of applies to this situation. Just because a sheriff's office patrol car hasn't hit a Sasquatch, that does not mean there are no Sasquatch. It's a bit ridiculous to make that claim just because your patrol car has not hit one. But this brings up an interesting point because apparently that county does not have any regulations against hunting Sasquatch. Now, obviously, Skamania County does. I believe King County does as well. It doesn't seem like Stevens County has any sort of ordinance. So, I suppose it's open season on Sasquatch in that county. I suppose, remember, we're talking about what is considered a mythical animal or mythical species. So, it's not illegal to hunt for a Sasquatch in that county, obviously. Or at least it wouldn't be. So, there you go. Now, here's a demonstration of AI in action. Real photos of quote unquote extinct dragons of North America. More than 19 million users viewed the series of sepia tone images. As you can see, though, it says image via Instagram account, the AI experiment. Now, that should tell you everything you need to know about this photograph. Viral photos shared in February 2024 authentically depict extinct dragons of North America. Fake. Rating fake. There's another one. And another one. As you can see, a huge skull looks like a huge human skull. That's got to be AI. I think all of them are AI. The input is likely to be AI generated. And see, this is going to be a test as to whether people can tell AI from the real thing. When it comes to cryptids, are we going to be able to determine real cryptids from fake photographs? I think there are ways to do it. There are ways online to be able to determine that. So, unfortunately, these AI images are going to fool some people. Not everybody will be fooled, but a lot of people will be, unfortunately. I just hope that once AI is exposed more and more, that there will be more exposure of these deep fakes. And trust me, there's a lot of deep fakes out there. Now, here's another story that was discussed on the Bigfoot News last week from Squatch DTV. Cross country runner is mistaken for Sasquatch in Washington State. I don't see how that's possible. A cross country runner in Washington State was understandably amused to discover that he and his cousin had inadvertently spawned a suspected Sasquatch sighting after some bewildered witnesses observed the pair out in the wilderness and thought they were Bigfoot. The somewhat deflating but undoubtedly instructive case of mistaken identity reportedly occurred on February 4th when an unnamed individual was riding his motorcycle with a friend and his young son in a fairly remote forested area near the city of Centralia. Their excursion took a strange turn when the boy drew their attention to what appeared to be a 10-foot tall bipedal creature approximately a half-mile away from the group. Well, if the individual is up on a ridge, they would appear to be taller, but they may only be about 6 foot tall or so. But they may appear to be taller because of being up on a high plane. In reporting the sighting to the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, BFRO, the witness indicated the suspected Sasquatch was moving across very rugged terrain towards a tree line where it ultimately vanished from sight. The motorcyclist went on to marvel that the creature moved so fluently with little arm movement, unlike a human running. The sighting proved to be promising enough that the BFRO dispatched an investigator to look into the report, and he concluded that, based on the description of the way this creature walked and his speed across the terrain, I believe that these three witnesses were fortunate to see a Sasquatch. Well, news of the February sighting was subsequently picked up by local newspaper The Chronicle, which did a story on the possible Bigfoot observation last week. However, shortly after the account was published, the case unraveled as high school cross-country runner Gunnar Morgan stepped forward with a rather remarkable revelation. That Sasquatch running was me, the teen told the newspaper, explaining that he and his cousin run often in that exact wilderness area. As for how they could have resembled the famously sizable cryptid moving in such an unusual fashion, he suggested that this was because we were running side by side and we run extremely fluidly compared to most people. Now, was there an actual Sasquatch sighting? I don't know. Again, if someone is up on a high ridge it might be a bit difficult to determine how tall they actually are. And who's to say that humans can't run as fluidly as a Sasquatch? I think they can, to be quite honest. This just sounds to me like a case of mistaken identity or misidentification. I don't believe there was a Sasquatch sighted in this case. I think the BFRO also jumped the gun on this one, which is rather unfortunate because usually they do pretty good investigative work. Not in all cases, but they usually do a good investigative work. It seems like they let their objectivity slip a little bit, though. And that's the thing. You have to have objectivity in these cases. You can't absolutely say a cryptid is responsible for all sightings. I mean, it's just the way it is. They're not responsible for all sightings. Sometimes it's just somebody running, a person running. So, mystery solved here. Finally, I want to talk about globalbigfoot.com, studying Bigfoot-like creatures from around the globe. I believe this is from Chester Moore. Yeah, it is. This is from Chester Moore. Along, of course, with his BigfootSouth.com. There's also, what's that? WildManOfTheWoods.com. Pretty cool stuff. Really cool stuff here. I'll include links to both Global Bigfoot and Wild Man of the Woods below for you guys to check out. And that's going to do it for this week. We want to thank you very much for tuning in. You guys are the heart of the show. I always say that, but I always mean it. I will continue as long as you guys want me to. And for the 9th year in a row, almost 10 years, be 10 years in 2025, a grand total of, let's see, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011. Be a grand total of about 13 years that I've been doing this. Because it started out in podcast form back in 2008. So, until next week, y'all be good or be good as. May-HBM's Cryptid-Corner.